Hello and welcome to this HeyRamp video where we'll talk about how to do one-to-ones. So what is the purpose of one-to-ones? Purpose is threefold. It's number one, to build a great relationship between you and the employee. As a manager, it is incredibly important to have a great relationship, and the core purpose of the one-to-one is really helping build that relationship. A lot of managers says, oh, but my employees don't care about my company the way I do. But reality is, the biggest reason they don't is because you don't care about them in their objects. So the simplest way to show people that you really care about them and that they matter and is important to you is to build good relationship with them. That's the first aspect. The second aspect of the one-to-ones is helping get better performance. So reality is, again, people will do more for people they feel like and respect them. And as a manager, again, your goal is not necessarily to be liked, but it is to build the good relationships, and it is to make people feel valued. All humans want to feel valued. We want to feel important. We want to feel like what we do matters. And as a manager, if you can't make people feel that, you're significantly less likely to get a good outcome. The third aspect of one-to-one is development, and it is making sure that you help encourage and foster the growth, development of your team, because your team's development is fundamentally what's going to, one, make them more successful in general. It's going to make your company more successful because better people deliver better results. And this is the essence. Next, let's talk about how you do it. Now, there's generally three key aspects to a one-to-one. The first aspect is really building the relationship, and typically the way you do that is going through and having real life conversations with people. A lot of managers just walk into a one-to-one, want to talk about work. But this is not how you build relationships. You want to utilize your one-to-ones to get to know your team better. And this is the most critical piece of the one-to-ones. If you do the one-to-ones for this reason alone, it will make you significantly more successful as a manager. So how do you do that? Well, you ask people questions about their life. You find out what matters to them. And then you share what matters to you. So communication is a two-way street. It's not just an interrogation, but it's a two-way street. And the more relationship you build with people, the more they trust you, the more likely they are to share the things with you that you want to know. So if they're having problems at home, for example, you would want to know about it, because very often that influences how they show up at work. And the problem many managers have is because they don't have the relationship, they just see performance suddenly dropping off a cliff and have no idea why. And when they don't know why, they can't help. However, if you build good rapport with people and they trust you, they share your struggles with you, whether that's problems at home or that could be problems in the team as well. And if they're comfortable, they have a good relationship with you, and they share these things, you become a better manager. Second aspect is talking about performance. I really recommend talking with people about performance as often as possible. Now, I recommend doing one-to-ones weekly and typically a 30-minute slot. But even if you do it at a less frequent rate, talking about performance frequently is critically important in, one, helping to make sure your staff know how important performance is. In many companies, it's not obvious. People do the things they think is the right thing to do. And if it's not obvious that a particular metric or a particular goal is so critically important, it is less likely to be delivered. Whereas when you're talking about it on a consistent basis, when you're having conversations every week, how are you against your goal? How are you delivering? What can we do to improve it? When you're having those conversations on a weekly basis, people understand the importance of it. And that's critically important. The last aspect is around development. So helping your team grow and develop. Again, a lot of development will be focused around individual team performance or individual people's performance. However, talking about growth, when you have people who are doing well already, you really want to see that you build a path for them in the company somehow. Now, growth path is not always up the way. It doesn't mean everyone has to become a leader or a manager, but that could just as well be sideways in the organization somewhere else. Sometimes people have different interests and they want to grow and develop different skill sets. And reality is many people doing the same job for years in a row at some point might want to change. And you're way better helping people grow and develop and retain it within the company, even if it's within a different team, than you are with them leaving because the job gets too boring, too repetitive, or not challenging enough. And most people want to grow. If you sit down and have the conversation with most humans, they all want to get better. They all want to grow. They all want to get feedback. And this is the critical part of what your one-to-one can help do for you. So really making sure you do your one-to-ones on a consistent basis. Show your team how important they are to you and how critical it is for you to spend time with them. Because here's the thing, most managers love when their boss takes time to spend with them. However, many of them neglect doing the exact same thing with and for their team. So this is a huge thing that you can do to set yourself apart. I fundamentally believe one-to-ones is the single biggest management hack that you can find out there. If you have not been doing these, this is the number one thing that will make the biggest difference for you as a manager. Now, from a HeyRamp perspective, we really recommend encouraging your employees to add in talking points just as well as you can. So the way I typically work with talking points is to make sure that we both add in things that we remember needs to be talked about. And why do we do that? Because a lot of the time, on a weekly basis, you're getting constant interruptions from your team. And one of the things that is very helpful is getting less of those. And a lot of things that you get interruptions with on a weekly basis is things that can perhaps be discussed in your one-to-one instead. So that's a great opportunity to bring these things in. So make sure that both yourself and your employees are adding in the talking points. The last key thing around using a tool like HeyRamp is making sure that you give people clear performance feedback every single time. You want to make it clear to them, since the last meeting, here's my experience of how you have been doing. If people are below their target, if they're below expectation, you want it to be 100% clear to them. What happens so frequently is that managers give some positive feedback, they get some, hey, this really needs to improve, and sometimes there's more positive feedback coming, and people don't understand that the current performance is not acceptable. You want to make it clear when that is the case. If you have a sales guy who needs to deliver 10 sales a week and they're delivering 8 last week, you want to make sure that it is crystal clear to them that their performance was below expectation. And this is very easy to do with HeyRamp, because at the end of every single meeting, you give people a score. And I recommend be as honest as you can. Sometimes it can be difficult to score people. Whether it's below performance or above expectation, it can be difficult. But I recommend that you do it, because the more you do it, the more people understand where they stand. Wherever that's a fantastic performance or not so good performance, the clearer that feedback is, the more you will generally get out of your team. I hope you enjoy utilizing HeyRamp. And if you have any questions, either to one-to-ones or how to utilize the tool, feel free to reach out to us.